Hi there guys, welcome to my channel and welcome back if you're a subscriber. Today I'm going to go over a handful of records that I've recently picked up, some of them quite old, OG pressings, one reissue which is a bit disappointing, but we'll go over that when we get to it. Okay, so let's kick off with this. This is going to be quite a short video. I'll try and give some explanations along the way with what I've got here. So the first one that I've got, it was a cheap one. It's a cheapie. This is a John Lennon rock and roll album. I got this to add to my Lennon collection. It's one that I haven't got. This is a first pressing from 1975. This was produced by Phil Spector. Famously, during the recording of this, at the end of it, Phil Spector held the tapes for ransom and at gunpoint. Yeah, it's a bit of a loose cannon at that time. This is on the Apple Records label. And this is actually in really, really good nick, which is not unusual for this record, because although a lot of people bought it because it's John Lennon, it's not one of his best records. I think this cost me about, I can't remember the exact cost, but I'd like to say it cost me around about £8, £7 or £8. I'd say the cover's in VG plus condition. The record's in VG plus the near mint condition, sort of on the cusp of that. But yeah, it's not a bad album, you know. There's some good stuff on here. It's all rock and roll standards. I actually think McCartney's rock and roll album is better than this, but hey, I haven't got that either. But there's a nice photograph of John Lennon taken in Hamburg when he was a teenager. I actually think that's a really good photo. But yeah, John Lennon, rock and roll. Next, while we're staying on the Beatles theme, I have all of the Beatles records in mono. The ones that were in the mono box, I bought them individually when they were available. I don't have the releases in stereo, so rather than source the stereo reissues, which are all from a digital, cut from a digital source, I started to investigate and research the best analog pressings of the original releases. And if you don't go the route of first pressings, you can actually pick up some really well priced records by the Beatles that were cut or pressed from the original stampers. And that is excellent, you know. So the first one in my collection for stereo is this one. This is Please Please Me. This is a 1970 pressing on the 2-box Parlophone label. Now let me take this out of the plastic just to show you a few things. So even in 1970, I think this is a 1970 or possibly 71 at a push, they were still doing them in laminated flip backs. There's no stereo indicator at the top like there was on original first pressings. There's no stereo indicator there. This jacket is in VG to VG plus condition. It's not near mint, but it is in excellent condition. But now to the important bit, the record. When I got this, I shit you not, I couldn't find any spindle marks on this record. This is as clean as they get, I personally think. Now, when you look at the dead wax, first pressings were a -1, so you got YEX 94-1, and this pressing from 1970 is YEX-1, and the other side is also -1. So this was actually pressed from the original masters. I think, I could be wrong, let me see, let's see. It's all right. I was just looking to see if it had Harry Moss's initial on it, but I don't think it has. But even so, you know, people, these early Beatles stereo records, you know, a lot of people think they've got a bit of a wonky sound because back then they were sort of putting all the vocals in one channel and all the instruments in another channel because stereo was in its infancy. But you know, it is what it is, and I think they've got a bit of a charm to them. So yeah, this is in excellent condition. This cost me about 40 quid, I think, in this condition. You know, you get a first pressing of this on the gold Parlophone label. You won't get much change from about £200 or £300, I don't think, in this sort of condition. But you're getting the same thing. It's a -1, so go figure. I'm going to do this on a budget. They're all analog, obviously. So yeah, I'm budget conscious. I'm going to be collecting the Beatles stereo records on a budget. Like I say, I've got all of their mono, which means I haven't got Abbey Road, I haven't got Let It Be, which were only released in stereo. I haven't got those yet. They're just two records that I never bought when I started recollecting vinyl 4 or 5 years ago. But I'm a bit specific with those records. I actually want first pressings on those. But yeah, please me, the Beatles. Now we're going on a little bit of a detour into the early 80s, and the next one is not first pressing, it's a second pressing. I think the first pressings were on a label called the Zoom label, I'd like to say, but this is the first record by Simple Minds, Life in a Day. This is a second pressing on the Virgin Records label. Obviously, once they started making it big, they reissued their first couple of records. This one and Reel to Reel Cacophony, they released on the Virgin label because they got signed to Virgin. This is really good. It's not like the Simple Minds that you know. This is quite raw and quite the production on it is pretty good. He produced it. John Leckie produced this. It's saying it's 1982, but I'd like to think, I think the first pressings were earlier than that. I'm not sure whether that date is correct. I could be wrong. But yeah, Life in a Day. This is a good record. It's not one I can see myself playing a lot. It's, if you're looking for stadium Simple Minds, this is not for you. This is raw, it's more guitar orientated, it's quite rocky in parts, but it's good. You know, you can see where they're going with this. So yeah, Life in a Day, really not a bad album. I'd give this a 6 out of 10, you know, as far as Simple Minds go. The next one is another Simple Minds record, and this one's a little bit more, let's say, well known, and that is Sparkle in the Rain. And this has got some cracking stuff up on it, up on the catwalk. Book of Brilliant Things, Speed Your Love to Me, Waterfront, obviously. Unfortunately, for some unbeknownst reason, they decided to do a cover version of Lou Reed's Street Hassle, and I'm not all that keen on it, if I'm honest. This does come with the original inner sleeve, which is just the cardboard inner. I've not put this in an archival sleeve yet. Again, this is in really good condition, a little bit dusty, but it has been cleaned a couple of times, but obviously putting it in this sleeve isn't helping. I need to buy some more inner sleeves. I've run out actually at the moment, so I need to get some more. But yeah, Sparkle in the Rain, adding this to my Simple Minds collection. I wouldn't say I'm a massive Simple Minds fan. I like certain tracks by them. It just so happens that I like pretty much all of the A side of this album. And it was reasonably priced. I think this was about £15 in, I would say, VG to VG plus condition. The record is near mint. But the jackets, I would say, yes, I'd say a strong VG plus, yeah, definitely. But it's in good nick, and it didn't cost much. And for that sort of money, if you want to increase your collection with stuff that, you know, I like quite a few things on this album, it's worth getting. What I will say about this is, I don't like the production on this. This has got Derek Forbes on it, and Derek Forbes, for me, hands down, was the bass player in Simple Minds. He left in 1986, I think. His last recording, I think, to my knowledge, the last record he performed on was Don't You Forget About Me. So that would have been 85, 86, and then he left after that, and then John Giblin, who recently died, unfortunately, John Giblin joined as a permanent member of Simple Minds for about 4 years, I think. The bass on this is virtually non-existent. You know, I've got in my system, I've got a subwoofer, and you can still barely hear the bass guitar on this. This is really top-endy, with very little bass. It must be an 80s thing. It's really weak, feeble sounding, to be fair. It's very crash bash and very sort of cinematic in its production, but there's no bass on it. There's no bass on this at all. So for that reason, I think they really should, if they've remastered, I'm going to seek out a remaster and see if they've remastered this, because if they've remastered it, I'd like to think that in this instance, the remaster will be better than the OG. If I get a remaster, I'll revisit this album and I'll do a comparison. Then we come to the last one. This last record featured on my rant video the other day regarding Royal Mail, and if you've seen the video, you know what record it is. It's the one and only solo album by Mark Hollis of Talk Talk. I'm not going to go into the rant video. You can see that. I'll link to that below in the description. What I am going to talk about is this record, and I resisted for about a day or two in taking it out of shrink wrap, because I thought, oh, I'll sell it on. What I've decided to do, because I actually listened to this the other day, I've decided to keep it until I get an upgrade copy where the jacket's in better condition. And then once I've got my upgrade copy, I will probably give this away on the channel to someone that maybe wants it and is happy to have a record in a jacket that's slightly creased. Okay, I'm a bit fussy, and you know, a lot of people will probably accept this, but I'm not prepared to. You know, it's okay, but it just spoils the jacket, I think. But anyway, on to the music. This album is just brilliant. I listened to this the other day, both sides, and this album is an unadulterated classic. Talk Talk were very well produced and really sort of that 80s sound. Life's What You Make It, a brilliant song, that churning piano in it, absolutely brilliant. You know, their song Talk Talk, brilliant song, you know. But then, as they say, Mark Hollis wrote what would have been the last Talk Talk album, and it wasn't to be, and he ended up recording it himself. And this is what would have been the sort of the beginnings of a new Talk Talk album, but it wasn't. This is fantastic. I can't tell you how good this, I can't express how good this is. Obviously this is brand new, and the record itself is in excellent condition, obviously, as it would be. It's really dusty because of this jacket, but I'm having to clean these records every time I want to put them on. I need to get some new archival sleeves so that I can clean it, then put it in an archival sleeve, and I won't get dust on the records anymore. But at the moment I'm having to put them back in the original sleeves. But the production on this is excellent. I would suspect, what year did this come out? 1998. So it's highly unlikely that this is a analog recording. It's very, very likely this was a digital recording. That being said, I really think this record would benefit from the audiophile treatment. I can only dream of what this record would sound like as a one-step. I really think this would sound fantastic as a high-end audiophile release, maybe with Mo-Fi. Mo-Fi, I think, could do a fantastic job with this, you know, because they're used to working with digital, you know. No dig meant there, but they are, let's be honest, if anyone's going to be good at mastering digital, it's Mobile Fidelity. And quite frankly, if you're in the I've been lied to camp, I'm not going to get involved in that. Mo-Fi still produce really good product, and if anyone can master an audiophile version of this, it's going to be Mo-Fi. I really think they should consider doing this. My only concern is, would it be for a limited audience? I don't know how many people would really appreciate buying an audiophile version of this, but it does need it. It needs that excellent like tip-on jacket. It needs the presentation, and it needs that super quiet vinyl. It really, really, really needs to be preserved as an artifact of a time when music was pure, and this is pure music, as pure as you're going to get. It's very stripped back. There's no reverb on this. There's no nothing. It's just almost as if Mark is in the room playing for you. Fantastic. Highly recommend this. I give this a 10 out of 10. If you like Talk Talk, but you've never heard this, do yourself a favour. Listen to it on Spotify or something, or just take the plunge and buy the record. You won't regret it. I suspect this probably sounds brilliant on CD as well, it being a digital recording. I like it on vinyl, sounds really good on vinyl. I really think this could do with an audiophile pressing on vinyl. Mo-Fi, if you're listening, take heed. This needs to be looked after, really does need to be looked after and cherished by everybody. And on that note, we'll call it a day today, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the next one. Cheers, bye bye.